What's going on, guys? John here from The Real Talk, back with my review for Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5, guys. I said that kind of weird, but yeah, if you guys did not check out my review for A New Hope, I did upload it earlier this day, so link to that's going to be in the description below if you guys want to check that out, if you guys are seeing all these in order. But yeah, guys, I'm excited. Star Wars, I'm going to be seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi tomorrow night. So again, if you guys want to see that review tomorrow night after I go see it, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys want to see it on Friday too, that's an option as well. I just don't want too many videos because tomorrow I'm going to be putting out Return of the Jedi, a review for that, and a review for Star Wars The Force Awakens. So I don't want a lot of reviews, but if you guys want that, I'm up for to doing that. So yeah, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It's to be honest, I don't know. I don't want to say this because I don't know if I'm gonna do a video on this, but yeah, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time as well. It's iconic. Is everybody's favorite Star Wars movie and stuff like that. And with my experience with it, again, it's just like A New Hope that I grew up watching those. My dad had that VHS set, and I grew up watching all of them. This one, I remember it just creeping me out in some scenes. I'll get to them a little bit later. Um, but overall, obviously, I love it. And growing up and knowing a lot of other stuff and, seeing its filmmaking and stuff like that, um, I've grown to love it even more. And just knowing what that one did and what kind of seeing these movies back to back. Obviously, it's a story and the continuation and the flows and everything like that. But it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of, and I'm kind of left in awe that back in 1977 and then back in the 80s, I'm not quite sure when Empire Strikes Back was released, probably 1980. Um, it's just kind of, I'm just in awe of seeing like, wow, they people back then got two great films, and I don't know if they knew what they were watching. Like I knew they knew what they knew they were watching Star Wars, but I don't know if they knew what kind of achievements they were watching in the film. Because it's not only a great Star Wars movie, but it's a great film in my opinion overall. So let's get right to it, guys. Yeah, I mean, obviously we get the continuation of these characters, and we get more development with these characters. And again, the prequels, we didn't get nearly as enough moments like this with each character, and kind of they don't even have to give these characters moments. They just can give them like little tidbits here and there. Like that's what I said about the episode 4, and you hope that there's like these little details that they give these characters, little lines here there, or little subtle things that they do, these actions that you give these characters depth, and they give them they give them character driven moments and stuff like that. Especially in this one, I feel like a lot of more characters are more kind of, they get into them a little bit more. But let's start off with that opening scene, guys. Right off the bat, you can tell that for me at least, the cinematography in this one is I said that in my first for A New Hope, the cinematography in that one was great. But in this movie, I can tell that they kind of, I don't know, it's weird to say that they kind of said, let's actually make this a film, because the cinematography in this is beautiful. It's breathtaking at some points. Like, it's just some of the shots that they chose, and obviously the camera movements and stuff like that. It's just fantastic. Like, it's just like, for a movie like this, like, I'm so glad they went with that route. It gives this movie a whole new, I guess I was gonna say character, but it just gives it a whole new I'm unlost for words, like a depth to it, like a whole new side of it. Yeah, there you go. I guess a whole new side of this film. But obviously we get Luke and Han. They're searching for I don't know, life forms or something like that. I believe so. I'm not sure what they're searching for. But Luke gets attacked, and then Han goes back. And this is what I'm saying with Han. His character gets a little bit more explored in this kind of scene. He wants to leave, but he's saying to the general or the captain there or something that he's leaving. That him and Luke did this, but he's looking at Leia. All the time he's looking at Leia, kind of like, oh man, like I have to go talk to her, and like already that struggle. You see that he doesn't want to leave, but at the same time he does, or that's what he I feel like he kind of doesn't want to give into that, like give into that character, because he's not like that, you know. And you see his character grow in those little scenes and stuff like that he has with Princess Leia as well. And even like I said this in my New Hope review, that Leia also, she's like, you can tell that she's yeah, I don't know if it was just me that kind of revisiting these films, I found out a little bit more that she's a badass, and she gives orders to people. You already see that kind of general in her. Like she's always been like that, and that's something I really really like and really appreciate. And this one you get to see it a little bit more. And you have that whole scene with them, you know, like how Han's like, come on, like admit it. I know, you know what? I think that's later on. That's later on. But you know, they're kind of saying, oh, you know, I'm leaving, or fine, like go. You know, like Leia's like, you know, we really need you here, but like that's not you. That's not who you are. You know. And then eventually Han. This is another thing that I really like, that he's struggling to leave, but he I don't know if he overhears or something like that. I'm forgetting right now that, you know, Luke is still out there. You know, it's almost night and he's still out there. So he goes out there, you know, by himself. And then one of the people there tells him, hey, like your Tauntaun's going to freeze to death if you're like, you know, by the time you get out there. He's like, well, I'll see you in hell. You know, like I really like that, you know. That's like his character, like growing, like he doesn't care. He's putting other people before him, and that's something I really like. That in the first one, you don't think that's possible from the first time you meet him to now. So I really like that character development. And then obviously you see Luke using the lightsaber and stuff like that to get in the Force. Obviously you see Obi-Wan, hey, you got to go to Dagobah, and so they're kind of setting up. And then we just get this phenomenal battle, the Battle of Hoth. Man, I just love that battle, and how it's a little bit more intense than I remember it to be honest. And like I've seen this movie countless of times, and I also played the first Battlefront, and you know how you can play that scene. And it's just so well done. Like the action there is so awesome, and like again the special effects, and even with the scenes that I was talking about a little bit earlier, where Han and Leia there, you see everybody kind of, you know, doing their thing, the rebels doing the thing. It's a real set. You know what I'm saying? It's a real set. You feel like they're there. You know what I'm saying? You feel like this world and this thing exists. And that's something that gives this movie and these original trilogy movies, that they just give them a whole new side, you know, a whole new, like, it just makes it feel so real, you know, and that's something I really love. But again, and especially when we get to Dagobah, that's the scene that I was talking about a little bit earlier that creeps me out. Like I was just kind of scared, like there's just snakes everywhere, and like, and this time I watched it too, I was paying attention for snakes, and there's a lot of snakes there. But yeah, just ending that whole Battle Hoth scene, it's just so great, and kind of seeing again Luke's leadership, and kind of his hero side, kind of, you know, hey, like wrap him around the legs and like knock him down and stuff like that. That's really cool. So obviously, Han and Leia and Chewie and everybody flee. They try to flee the Empire and stuff like that. They're on the run. They end up on the asteroid field, and Luke goes off to Dagobah. And just these little small things that kind of make these characters, like it's awesome to split them up, because they're not all together. And you know, Luke has to go on his own little arc, and you see these other characters here develop. And in this one, it's a little bit more funnier than I remember too, because there's a lot of times where Han and C-3PO are kind of like, Han's like, are you kidding me? Like, especially that scene that I was talking about a little bit earlier, where Han's kind of like, you know, telling Leia, like, you know, you like me, you know, and you know I'm not a fool like scum or whatever. And she's like, yeah, a little bit or something, you know. She doesn't want to really give into it. And they have that first kiss, and then C-3PO just comes and like, sir, excuse me, you know. Just the way that Harrison Ford is able to, you know, convey a lot of things and kind of act like it was that performance. It's just so, he just turns around like, really, dude? And then you see, you see Leia, you know, leave, because she doesn't want to get into that, because she knows what they're doing. She knows that they're on a mission, and that's going to get in the way. And that's something incredible to see in a female character back then too, you know, because there's not a lot of those type of characters. So I'm glad that Princess Leia was always like that. And then we get the whole training thing. Oh, you know what? Let's finish the whole asteroid field too. I love that they set that up so carefully. You know, I feel like if you're a first timer watching that scene that they're not in an asteroid cave. They're in a creature, you know, because as soon as she steps out, she's like, the ground feels weird, you know, and then obviously you see those little bats or whatever. I don't really know what those creatures are. I just know that they like to eat the cables and stuff like that. And chew on stuff. It's kind of creepy too. Like I thought, like, if I were to see this movie in theaters, how Leia's just chilling and she just sees this. Like, you just like, what the heck? Like, what is that? And all of a sudden she like leans forward and just and this little creature. Like, I thought I was like, what the heck? Like, if I was in theaters, I would have jumped. You know, like, it's not a scary movie or anything like that. But but probably it's meant to instill kind of like, what the heck? Like, where are they really? You know, they did such an incredible job. And again, John Williams' score throughout, and even I think this is the first time that the Imperial March song comes out, and it just like validifies, kind of gives the Empire a whole new side to them. Like this, just by adding a little song, you know, to them, it gives them like, oh crap, like these guys are in trouble, you know. But obviously, going back to the cave scene, they flee, and you know that whole little monster comes out. That I think it's like a worm or something like that. I don't know. I don't really know. But it's just fantastic to see. You know, it's something. And again, that even that is practical, and even that is kind of like, it still holds up. The visual effects in here and this one are phenomenal. Still, you know, it still holds up. Even in the Battle of Hoth, they're amazing. But then we get introduced. We go to Dagobah and we get introduced to Yoda for the first time. You know, and kind of looking at this, it's like, I never really understood why he was kind of like playing around, kind of jokey. But then I kind of realized that a little bit more in this one. Like this time, this viewing of the movie, that he's there to test Luke. He's like that to test Luke. Because in the first one, you know, on the prequels, a lot of people had a problem with Yoda, how he's kind of too serious and something. He's not too jokey. But I feel like he was only like being like that, like that's his character. But I mean, maybe it's because of old age or something. But he was doing that in the beginning to kind of test Luke, and you know, obviously he says to Obi-Wan like, "Oh, I can't train him. You know, he doesn't have patience. He's too old." The same thing he said about his Luke's dad and stuff like that. But then you see Luke and his drive to accomplish his dream, to accomplish this, because he knows what he has to do. Like, he knows that eventually he's gonna have to face Darth Vader, you know. So you see his will and his willingness to kind of, no, I can do it. Like, please, like, train me, you know, I can do it, you know. There's a lot of like back and forth between Yoda and stuff, and Luke and even Obi-Wan. That's just great. It's just awesome. These lines that you can remember and apply to your own life as well. From both of them, you know, it's really well done, and kind of it really sets up how Luke is training, and he's getting it, you know, he's training, he's on a roll. And then it's awesome to see the prequels and to see this moment that he's training, but he wants to go save his friends. And I feel like that's something that Obi-Wan and Yoda were kind of afraid of, because they knew that Anakin let his feelings get in the way, and you know, of Padme and stuff like that. So it's so great to know that happened, and it's kind of happening again with Luke. You know, not to that extent, obviously, but it's nice to see. It's kind of like father, like son, you know. And it's also too, like, that whole scene where Luke goes into the, I don't know, like a little cave or something, and Darth Vader comes out. I never really understood that till this day, even in this viewing. Like, he fights him a little bit, he cuts off his head, and then you see Luke in there, and kind of, I don't know what that really means, you know. Maybe that he can be fighting himself, you know, or maybe that's his biggest enemy, himself, that he's holding himself back, you know. That's some aspects that could be something, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that little moment there? Like, what does that mean to you guys? That's what I always interpreted it as, that's his biggest hurdle that he has to go over. His biggest enemy is himself, or maybe it's setting up a little bit like, oh, like you can see a little bit of himself in Darth Vader, in the sense that, like, oh, later on it's gonna be revealed that it's his father, you know. So yeah, I love that whole Dagobah training with Yoda and stuff like this. It's just so great to see Luke kind of being developed a little bit more, and obviously the whole X-wing thing with R2 and everything like that. It's also great. But we finally get to the scene where the Millennium Falcon and everybody in it obviously get to Cloud City, and you get introduced to Lando. Man, he's so cool. I wish they brought him back in some way, shape, or form. I really would like to see like where his character's at right now, you know. But again, I don't want them to ruin him. So it's kind of cool in a way that he hasn't been in the new ones. But he's so suave and stuff like that. And I just found it hilarious too how he just talks to Han like his old buddy, and right away he just turns to Leia like, hey, you know what I'm saying, like what do we have here, you know, like, and he kisses the hand like trying to be all smooth and stuff like that. And I think Leia like kind of gets into it a little bit, you know, like you can see kind of like in her face. So like I was saying, they get to Cloud City and they're Orlando and stuff like that. And you can this is the thing too that I like that they set up. In just a few little words, that the dialogue between Han and Lando, you can already tell that there's a history and you want to know what's up with between them, because you're like, oh, how's my Falcon doing? Like, that's not yours. Like, I want it fair and square from you. You're like, oh no, you cheated or something like that. You know, like that whole back and forth. Like, you know, there's a friendship and you want to know more. And hopefully they do a justice to that in the new film, because again, I'm very worried about Han Solo's solo film. But hopefully they do a justice. We're getting it. You know, we can't do nothing about it. Hopefully they do a justice to it. And in a way, to be perfectly honest, if they ruin Han Solo or something, or like if they mess it up or something, I still have Han Solo from the original trilogy. So I don't care. It's not like they're going to go back and erase his character and add things, you know? So... but I like that. In such a little bit of dialogue, you can already tell that these people have history. So obviously we get a little bit further, and it's a trap that Lando, you know, had to agree with, you know, with Darth Vader and stuff like that, and the Empire. And it's so cool to see how Han just springs into action, and like as soon as the doors open, Darth Vader's there. I always like that he's so ballsy, he's so badass. Like, he's, oh shit, that's Darth Vader. Like, he's a bad guy. Let me kill him. Like, here we're trying to avoid him. Like, his instinct is so cool. But unfortunately, I feel like that cost him. I feel like that's what made Darth Vader say, you know what, let's freeze this guy. Obviously, you have the bounty hunters there as well. And I haven't even gone to Darth Vader in depth and what he does in this story. But we'll talk about that right after this. So, well, you know what? Let's talk about it right now. So throughout the movie, it's awesome to see how he's kind of, you know, chasing these guys and stuff like that, and kind of giving orders to these people under him and stuff like that. But it's just so awesome to see that, you know what? If you, like, not disobey my orders or whatever, but if you don't follow through with what I'm asking you to, you die. Like, that's so awesome to see. Like, he just chokes out like 2 or 3 people, like, and kills them to death. And what I love is that there's this one scene where they talk, oh, Lord Vader, like, okay, so this is this, and then he starts going like this, and he talks to the other guy while the other guy's choking. He's like, yes, Lord Vader. He kind of looks at him like, yes, sir. That's just so awesome to see. Like, what the heck? Like, Darth Vader's badass. But then there's this scene that we finally get with Darth Sidious, I should say, and the Emperor and stuff like that, and kind of... I didn't mention this in the first review, that the things they add here and there, like in this one, it's kind of cool to see that they added a newer Darth Sidious with the actor Ian McDiarmid, I think. So it's cool to see they added that. In the first one, real quick, if you guys have been following it, I'll say this, that I didn't mind that they there's not a lot of things in the New Hope that they added or something. Like, it kind of does take you a little bit, but that wasn't the original film. That's why I didn't have that as in my negatives and stuff like that. They added just stuff here and there. In Return of the Jedi, I'll get to something that I didn't like at all. But in this one, that's something that I did like, that they added a new, like, Emperor and stuff like that. And so I'll say that real quick. But it's just so awesome to see finally the Emperor, you know, that whole little scene that, oh, we can use him, you know, like, I'll turn him to the dark side and stuff like that. So obviously we get that whole scene, that whole love aspect, and you believe it. You know, their whole back and forth, and especially in this one with Han and Leia, you believe their little relationship. Not like in the prequels. Not like in Attack of the Clones. But it's just so awesome. It's just so... I think Harrison Ford improvised that line of, like, when Leia says, I love you, he says, I know. And it's just more effective to me. It's more like his character, but at the same time, you know, he means it too. Like, you know that he'll say it back, you know? So that's something that was really well done as well. And obviously you have that scene, like, and this is what I like, that in this movie, like, our heroes lose in countless ways and shapes and forms or whatever. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but they lose in a variety of ways. And then we get the scene that we're all waiting for, the climactic battle between son and father that we know of already, but, you know, Luke and Darth Vader. And And just that whole scene is well done. That whole scene when Luke enters and he finally faces him, that whole battle is done really well too, because you know what's coming, you know. And even so, like, if you don't know the whole father or something, you can tell that it's been leading up to this, as this is our hero finally battling the villain, you know, and seeing that. So that fight is great. And again, there's actual sets and stuff like that, and everything leading up to that moment. That's why I like, it's one of my favorite moments of all time too, that it's just so powerful. It's just everything from then on. Like, yeah, like it's a lot of people say, oh, Luke's reaction is like, no, you know, stuff like that, and kind of that the whole surprise is spoiled. It's been spoiled like for generations and stuff like that. But you know, I don't think it's like much about that. I think it's just about like what these characters are feeling, both sides, and how everything changes from that moment on. Because now Luke is like, if this is true, he's my dad. Like, this is, it just adds a whole nother layer, a whole another, you know, element to him trying to stop him, you know. And obviously he says, join me. He doesn't. He just falls and stuff like that. And I like that, like, Darth Vader's kind of like, join me, and then he falls and he just goes, like, kind of like, oh man, you know, like, I don't know, it's just maybe the way it's edited or something like that. It's just, he just goes like, he's like this, like, join me, and like Luke falls and he's just like I don't know, I just always thought that was funny. But obviously I really love this scene where Luke is calling out to Leia, because obviously after that whole where Han gets frozen in carbonite, I think, and then Lando turns on the Empire and stuff like that and helps him escape, and he escapes with him. Because after that, Lando's gonna, if Darth Vader found him, he's gonna get killed. So he escapes with him, and I love that whole scene where Luke is calling out to his sister. They don't know yet and stuff like that, but I just love that you kind of get a little hint of saying like, oh man, like maybe Leia's the other one that Obi-Wan and Yoda were talking about. I just really like that kind of the whole brother sister thing. And yeah, guys, I don't know what else to say. Everything I said about the first one could be said about this one. The score, the cinematography, the directing in this one's a little bit is a bit better, because I'm forgetting the director's name, but he just knocked it out of the park with these characters and stuff like that. And I like that this movie is not just a popcorn flick. It's not just a sequel. It's more than that. It's more character driven. You see these characters grow and where they're heading in the next one. And it sets up the next one, but not really. It doesn't, like a lot of modern, you know, Hollywood blockbusters, it doesn't have these unnecessary scenes setting up the next one. It sets it up naturally, you know, and that's something that should always be done. And guys, I love this film, and again, it's just one of those sequels that have always been in the running for best sequel of all time, and I agree with that 100%. And I don't know, I love this film. Again, I love every scene of it. I love everything they do with these characters, and hopefully I'm not missing anything. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, with that being said, guys, I have to give Star Wars Empire Strikes Back a 10 out of 10.
Perfect.
And I mean, like I said, I haven't given these scores. If I review a little bit more films and like these kind of classic, you know, great films, you'll know how I'll score my movies and stuff like that. It's not just because it's Star Wars that I'm giving it 10 out of 10. Because if you see my prequels, you know, you see my scores there, and you'll see my scores differ as the series goes on as well. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below, guys. You guys know what the deal is here. And again, guys, if you guys not checked out my review for A New Hope, I uploaded that a little bit earlier. Tomorrow we'll be having my review for Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And let me know if you guys want to see my review for The Last Jedi that night or in the Friday morning. So you guys know you guys can follow me outside of YouTube at The Real Talk with 2 Ks on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, guys, I'll see you at the movies. Later.